Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Siempre. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todos se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hacia dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi misión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
What's happening? We are live and direct.
Welcome to the Rise Up.
It's the Rise Up International Morning Show. That don't sound too good, do it? Yeah. What's happening? How y'all feel out there?
What's going on?
Okay. My name is Kalonji Changa. I'm riding shotgun with
Fernando Cardenas.
Fernando, where you located at for folks who are new?
Located right now in Francia, right here in Rennes, France. About an hour and a half away from Paris.
Okay. And that was Fernando's group on the intro. For folks who aren't familiar, you know what I'm saying? He got a little bit of MC in him as well. What's the name of that song, Fernando?
Como los Mao Mao, like the Mao Mao. Shout out to 340 MS and Guerrilla Republic, Cuba.
Okay. I got my G-Rep shirt on today. I usually don't do this.
I
usually don't do this. Give my man Rob love.
Shout out. Culture vs. Corporation. G-Rep, shout out, man.
We doing too much free promotions right now. Rob Love got to cut a check. I'm at to send my man Tenisio over there to get his check. You know what I mean? Can't let Rob Love get too much love. Anyway, this is the Rise Up International Morning Show. This is Black Power Media, and we are reloaded. We are sucker free. You know what I mean? Keeping it on the right side of the barricades. I'm located right here in Rap Brown, Georgia, aka ATL. Shout out to Imam Jamil Alameen, formerly H. Rap Brown, who just celebrated his 82nd born date a few days ago. We say celebrated, even though he's still, incarcerated. He's still held behind enemy lines, and we're looking to free him and to free all political prisoners. Shout out to those brothers and sisters who are still languishing in these U.S. gulags, and I know that there are plenty around the world. I know France is no stranger to oppression. You know what I mean? What matter of fact, what's going on over in France, real quick, brother? Because it's a lot of nonsense popping off.
Yeah, no doubt, man. As we know, the struggle is global. You know what I'm saying? And right now, the latest thing that I was checking out is from back in last August, started this one thing. They started doing organized racist attacks on our people over here in France. So I think, the rise in fascism is getting to their heads. So, but this is real. It's not just like, a couple racist people going after a brother. Nah, it's like an organized thing where they have pickups. Like the last case is like 5 different pickups, and they're making sure they lock them up, and they have weapons and things, and So in last August, they beat a young brother up badly, man. They had to take him to the hospital, and they said that, and they even call it out, like the hunt is open and all this stuff. It's like some real crazy thing. And so since then, it's been like 5 different cases that have been reported. You know what I'm saying? So those are the reported cases. But what's crazy is that recently also the lawyer that was helping the victim, he's been harassed. He's been chased, and so this one of the things that's been happening. And just for those who don't know, here in France, specifically in Paris, in the 80s, brothers had to organize and form, and get together to chase down the skinheads, because the skinheads were just beating our people down, beating black folks up and killing them. And so people had to organize, and there was a couple groups like the Black Dragons, and also the requins vicieux, they called the vicious sharks, that formed, that were able to clean up the streets a little bit and put some fear into the skinheads so that they would leave our people alone. So right now, this is kind of giving us a taste of that, what the skinheads was doing in the 80s and early 90s, where they would just go after our people, just a regular black person walking. You have to think, like, here in France, it's not like in the States where our people have been there for years and years and generations. Here in France, it's usually like our people are first, maybe second or maximum third generation. You know what I'm saying? Like, we haven't been here for that long. So these people, they come after us, and in the 80s, it was real heavy on that. So yeah, so right now we're seeing this, organized racist attacks, hunts, and that's, obviously without counting what the police does in our neighborhood, every day. But this is something that's been coming up, man.
Man, I mean, over here, we hear France, they got us all gassed up. They talking about France is for lovers and all kinds of other craziness and whatnot.
Right.
Just for lovers, as long as it ain't others, huh? As long as it's not us. Yeah.
They did. I know over there they think about the Eiffel Tower and all of that. Most of our people have never even been close to that Eiffel Tower, man.
I could dig that. And of course, and I'm joking, but we know that France is one of the main vampires over on the continent of Africa. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, to this very day. And I think that while we talk about France, I think France and resistance. I know we have a nice video from one of your comrades in Togo. I think we should
That's right.
go to that, and then we're gonna bring on. We have a couple dope guests that I've known for years, man. Some comrades who because I think that sometimes when we think about war, we think about physical, and every now and then we talk about spiritual, and we talk about the mental. But when we talk about physical, sometimes we negate the fact that we need to be our own doctors. You know what I'm saying? We have to be our own liberators. And so we have 2 of my favorite brothers on the planet, you know what I mean, that'll be coming on shortly. But before we get into them, I want to bring on some tunes and whatnot from Togo.
That's right.
And we'll be right back at you. Who's the artist, my man?
Yeah, man, this is my brother and comrade, man. Elon Vance. He's a great, artist, Pan-Africanist. He's part of our organization, the Pan-African League Umoja. And he's a dope MC, great artist, writer, everything, man. Y'all can check that one out and let us know what y'all think, man. Elon Vance, shout out, man.
Rise Up International Morning Show. Stay tuned. We on, y'all.
Rise.
L'arrangement des chapitres est variable, mais progressivement, un ordre va s'imposer.
fasciné, Nyingba les rapos, les sacs béés. Aux langues égorgées qui ne cessent de geindre, aux bras ronflants qui pèsent des falaises. Je fais manger les cendres nées de nos échecs en brasier pour raviver la mémoire de nos soldats massacrés. Et Clomition, Narcoigny et Rompognon. La tortue dresse sa carapace, impossible, faut qu'on te frappe. Nous kwekwe, ma kwe sanye. J'allais au Midoto, y a pas de dignité sans lutte, pas de succès sans discipline. Que nous reste-t-il de grandeur aujourd'hui? Multiplie Bia par Sassou, ajoute Fort Ali, divise-les par les âmes qui errent dans le désert. Ces tombes sans épitaphe qui peuplent les océans dans le silence de nos élites en cravate maintenant soustraits. Tous ces sorciers blancs, Machiavel tropicaux, qui n'ont aucune morale. Mépris, dédain, arrogance, insolence. 1, 2, 3, Tavio, 4, 5, 6, Laro, Ken, Wiwa qui recherche l'équilibre sur les cordes que leur tendent nos ennemis. Je parle de toi. Si tu peux trahir pour du fric, tu craques. Une fille, un compte, on peut. Je te parle de toi. Qui a tué Anselme et Douti, Moufidou ou Luc Nkouloula. Les balles sont rentrées, sont frappées, ont violé mon temple, me loger quelque part dans les étoiles. Château de sang qui s'effondre tout seul, bouché à peau noire que dévore une flamme cannibale. Se sont penchés sur mon corps, s'assurer de mon sort. On rit de toute leur force puis on crachait sur ma chair. M'ont enterré son cercueil dans une nuit sans luciole. Mais le proverbe enseigne que celui qui doit vivre survit, même si tu l'écrases dans un mortier. Je me suis réveillé à Addis Abeba, apprendre les stratégies pour gagner nos batailles d'Adoua. Et mes yeux ont poussé des ailes, traversé le ciel, aspiré par l'infini. De mon corps je suis sorti, dans mon sang j'ai nagé. L'avenir j'ai visité, à mes ougas j'ai hurlé. J'ai parlé aux ancêtres, ils m'ont demandé d'aller travailler pour les âmes à naître. J'étais couché dans la terre, livré aux asticots, j'écrivais ces vers que je vous livre aujourd'hui. Croyez-moi, je ne rappe plus, je fais de la géomancie dans l'espace. Croyez-moi, je ne rappe plus, je fais de la géomancie. Croyez-moi, je ne rappe plus, je fais de la géomancie dans l'espace. Croyez-moi, je ne rappe plus, je ne rappe plus, je ne rappe plus. Et gongon, et gongon, et gongon, et gongon, et gongon, et gongon, et gongon. Afia mille, menye kwegle wo milio. Afia mille, menye kwegle wo milio. Ameder la bova e boa amadio. Ameder la seva ase amadio. Fouflou le gbema, balulu le gbema. Fouflou le gbema, balulu le gbema. Afia mille, menye kwegle wo milio. Afia mille, menye kwegle wo milio. Ameder la bova e boa amadio. Ameder la seva ase amadio. Fouflou le gbema, balulu le gbema. Fouflou le gbema, balulu le gbema. Fouflou le gbema, balulu le gbema. Fouflou le gbema, balulu le gbema.
That was a hard video. Talk
Yes,
to
sir.
it.
Hey,
Explain
man.
it. Explain it to the people, man. You know,
Hey,
you see-
man. You see how he directed that joint too, right?
it's hard body.
That's some
Yes.
serious work, man. A lot of what he does is well, as you can see, it's all really connected to discourse with the ancestors, you know, communicating with the ancestors. And you know, he does a lot of it. He goes from French to Ewe. You know, Ewe is one of the languages that are the main language spoken in Togo, you know, so he goes from French to Ewe. You know, he's really into African liberation and African unity, you know, because he's a Pan-Africanist, as I said. But that one, man, just the visuals are really deep too, man. You know, just analyzing the visuals and checking it out. His work it always has different layers, man. Whether you always got to check out the visuals, then the lyrics, the wordplay, all of that. And man, he's just a really dope artist and a great brother, man. Shout out
So,
El Vance, man.
so for folks that's checking it out, beyond the visuals, give them a synopsis of what it was all about.
Hold on. You hear me there?
Yep, I hear you well.
Yeah, my fault.
1 second, we brought the guest on by mistake. But yeah, no, I was saying for folks who are just tapping in and may not be familiar with the artist himself, beyond the visuals, give them a synopsis of what was being said and what was the purpose of that particular piece.
The purpose of that video was about the connection and the follow-up of the message and the resistance of the ancestors. That's what that piece is about. You know, it's about communicating with your ancestors and following through with the mission of resistance.
No doubt. I want to remind folks and give thanks for introducing us to this artist. Again, we are bringing off. It is an international morning show, so you can expect international sounds, international freedom fighters, primarily of African descent, because we are about our people first. We support. We are against oppression. We are for decolonization. We're anti-imperialist, but at the same time, as the hip hop artists would say, worst come to worst, our people come first. We got to definitely put our people in the forefront because no one else will. So with that in mind, if you have any tunes, videos that you would like broadcast or showcase, make sure you send it to us, mediablackpower@gmail.com, mediablackpower@gmail.com. In fact, we have a project, another musical project coming soon. You want to tell me a little something about it, or you want to hold off with it?
Hey man, first of all, I just want to say when you send things this way, tell them make sure it's dope. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. Yes.
Make sure it's dope.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, definitely. I mean, you can expect to see artists like that. You know what I'm saying? Artists like that. We're gonna take it, international, global with it. You know what I'm saying? Because hip hop is a part of our culture as African people, and we're gonna take it global. That's where it's at, man. We got to be able to communicate together no matter where we at. We can't let language be a barrier, you know what I'm saying, for our people. Because that's what they try to use language, whatever they can, language, religion, whatever they can, to make us think that we're not the same people, you know what I'm saying? So
one nation, one gun is where we at. Speaking of international, I wanted to health is an issue in our communities. We keep hearing about, right now, most of us, if you've been in this liberation movement 40 plus years, we know that we have more ancestors than OGs right now. We have more ancestors than elders, and oftentimes health has something to do with it. If we dig into it, we skin it and see what's in it. Our enemy is using our health as a weapon. We've been talking about using food for medicine for years. We've been talking about putting seeds in the ground, so on and so forth. So of course, around here, we don't talk about it. We be about it. Wanted to bring on a couple of our brothers. We have my man, Dr. Heru, Ofori-Atta in the building. What's going on, Heru? How you feeling?
I'm on top of the world. How are you?
Hey man, try and get up there with you, man. I'm like Jack and the Beanstalk and whatnot. So trying to grow my beanstalks. I call my favorite farmer and DJ, Basu, Tenisio, Seanima. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
What's happening? That set y'all were playing almost sounds like your favorite DJ, don't it?
It do. I ain't gonna front. I'm not afraid to say that Tenisio is the official FTP movement DJ. Don't get it twisted. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If he's unavailable, then we go elsewhere. I'm sorry. I got a lot of DJ friends.
I see that steel pulse back there, man. I see that steel pulse. That's fire back there, man.
Yeah. I mean, only he would have Leon Bridges steel pulse and self-destruction on the same wall. Everybody can't do that. But anyway, and speaking of that, a fun fact about my brother Heru, back in the day, he had his movement tune action going on. and a lot of folks aren't familiar with that. But I think that, to me, that was kind of before a lot of folks' time, and it was an idea that I think that it was timely, but sometimes premature, because as Helter Skelter would say, heads ain't ready for the shit we got. Heru, can you speak on movement tunes real quick, man, if you don't mind? I know that ain't why I brought you on here, but still, at a flashback.
Yeah, it's no problem, man. So some people actually know me as Heru the poet. I spent about a decade. So, I used to be a lawyer, and I stopped practicing law and became a professional poet. And I traveled around the world performing poetry and giving lectures on African history, African politics, Pan-Africanism, them type of things, right? So it brought me to a lot of universities, and it brought me to a lot of festivals all over the world as an artist. And what I noticed is that there were two things going on at the time. This is around the early 2000s. And during that time, people were selling CDs, right? So artists would go to, different spots and sell CDs out their car or what have you, right? And as a professional artist, you would also have a website. People would order on your website. You would print out the CDs and you would ship them, right? So that was the process. And then at the time, they also had websites like Kazaa or other website. I forget the name of the real big one, but basically it was a pirate website where you could download, people's music. And there were a lot of lawsuits around that, right?
They had like LimeWire back then, and those
LimeWire,
exactly.
Yeah, like intellectual property issues. And so what happened was that Apple got involved in legal streaming. They cut a deal with the record companies and did legal streaming where people could do digital downloads. So it's legal downloads. It wasn't streaming yet, but it was digital downloads. And one of the benefits of digital downloads is that you did not, as an artist, you did not have to print out CDs, you did not have to ship out CDs, you did not have to store CDs, and the customer was able to get the product right away instead of having to wait to get it in the mail. So I saw a real business advantage in that. And so I contacted iTunes in like 2001, 2002. At the time, I had about 2 CDs out. And I sent them my material, and then they wrote me back, and they rejected me because they said that I was not with the major record company. So what I did was I learned digital download technology myself, and I learned how to do the coding, and I put it on my website. So I was probably one of the first poets who had digital download on my website, where people could literally just press a button and pay for my poetry, my music, whatever, and get it. And as I started traveling, particularly when you go to different countries, so I would go to Jamaica, I would go to Barbados, I go to St. Kitts, I go to Nigeria, I go to Ghana, I go to all these places. When I would go, I would get interviews on TV stations and radio stations. So when you're on the TV, everyone thinks you're very famous. So once I got on TV and then I would perform, a bag of artists would come to me at the end of the shows, giving me their CDs, saying, check me out, check me out, check me out. Basically, like, like maybe I can record with you and I can get on TV too. That type of vibe, right? It's like networking. So through the years, I was able to collect a whole library of artists from different places in the world wherever I performed. And when I would listen to the CDs, they were world class. A lot of these artists were great artists, but they're not signed to big record labels, because the record labels only want to sign music that destroys our people, right? So they're getting a 2-for. They're making money and destroying our people. So they're getting 2 things they want at the same time. So for them, that's what they're doing. So the artists that we get to know are the artists that are down with that agenda, or part of that agenda in some, or serve that agenda in some type of way. And so since I was making money on digital downloads, I said, man, what would happen if I replicated myself times 100? And I would get artists who are reggae artists, like roots reggae artists, spoken word artists, hip hop artists, jazz artists, R&B artists. So all these different genres in our world were just coming to me, and they were just giving me CDs for free. So I contacted all of these people and was like, listen, I'm going to put up a website like iTunes, but I'm going to call it Movement Tunes. And, we'll do a profit sharing split, and then the whole world will be able to get your music right away. This is when no one had access to selling digital downloads unless you were going through iTunes. So that's what happened. And FTP Movement was one of the artists that was part of it. And, you know, it was going good for some time. And then streaming came into it. So, you know, Pandora and some of these other streaming services came where you pay a monthly fee and you can just play any music you want. And then people started uploading music for free on YouTube. So paying for digital downloads, it stopped becoming viable because the consumer was getting music for free legally. And so we closed up shop, and you know, I got into solar energy and things. I got into other things, you know, that would be useful. But we had a nice little run for about 3 years.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and it's funny because I think about folks like you. I think about a brother who's now an ancestor from Harambe Radio.
Yes, Delani.
Delani Amon, and which I had my first radio show on Harambe. You know what I mean?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I interviewed all kinds of folks. I'm literally, because you know, sometimes, you know, folks like us, we do so much we forget. So I'm just finding interviews from folks like Sam Greenlee, and that's where I interviewed the interview that I have on here with Muhammad Ahmed, Max Stanford. You know, it's just so many different folks that I forgot that I interviewed. But yeah, just saying that because of the fact that you all were pioneers, and we've always been connected to the pioneers of our generation and that generation before us. So I really wish that at the time folks knew the value of a movement tunes, because of the fact that you really did set it off in a different way. So much so that when you first told us about it, I was like, I don't know what the hell Heru talk about, but but I like his poetry. You know what I'm saying? He's a smart brother, so let's get down with it.
You trusted it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You had us and folks like what's my brothers out of Baltimore, Rough Mike and Heru, Precise Science, and just so many others. He had the block on lock with anyone that was talking the talk. So definitely salute to you for that. This is Black Power Media, and we're looking to keep the movement moving in the vein of folks like Gil Noble. You know what I'm saying? And in the vein of folks like Alambe Braff. And that's part of the reason we have these brothers on here today. I mentioned my brother Tenisio as our DJ and board member and radio host and farmer and so on and so forth. All the brothers that you are looking at on the screen right now, these are brothers who are a jack of trades, we won't say all trades, but jack of enough trades. We could build a nation with the four of us and have communication, farming, agriculture, security, survival preparedness, and political education on lock. So imagine if we really said, you know, we are on some serious Pan-African liberation, because oftentimes we think that it takes, you know, they say it take a village, but we think it takes so many folks, but we don't look at Cuba, as we mentioned earlier, with folks like Fidel Castro, who was able to overthrow Batista and his cronies, you know, and others who have run these devils out of town. Today, of course, we're talking about health. So for folks who aren't familiar, Heru, we know you mentioned that, you know, you was an attorney, you was a poet, then you went into the whole music thing, then you was talking about solar energy, so on and so forth. Most people will probably be like, how do you go from being an attorney to a poet? But that shows you had to be a bad poet in order to go from being an attorney to a poet. You know what I mean? But for folks who aren't familiar, give us I'm gonna ask the two of you to share your bios so that you know, so we don't miss anything. So we can start with you, Heru, and then we're gonna take it to our brother Tenisio, and then we're gonna get this thing started.
Yeah, so I'm Heru. I was born in Ghana, West Africa, or what they call Ghana right now, but I was born in the western sector of Africa. And I do that on purpose. I don't like to divide Africa because we didn't make those lines, right? So
That's right.
it was in the western section of Africa, and I grew up in Chicago. And I went to university, and I went to university to become a doctor. My father was a trauma surgeon and a general surgeon in the Chicago area. So I grew up in that environment, and I grew up around Black doctors. So the first brain surgeons I met were Black men. Those were my father's friends. The first heart surgeons I met were Black men. The first, general surgeons I met were Black men. They were my father's comrades. So I went to university to become a brain surgeon because I wanted to understand the most powerful part of the body. The brain controlled everything in the body. So that's where I wanted to go. But when I got into university, what happened was that the summer before I went to university, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and it completely changed my worldview in my life. And I got deeply involved in studying African history, African politics from a global perspective, Black American history, all of that, right? So when I got to university, I became a pretty well-known activist, head of the Black Students Union, them type of things, right? And just immersing myself deep in our people's history. And because of that, and at the same time, focusing on a science degree, I had a lot of mentor professors. And they took me under their wing, and they told me, I would be better going off to law school because I was very good in public debate. They said I was very good with language, and that I would probably serve our people better with being an advocate in the legal realm and not necessarily in the science realm. And so I did graduate with a double degree in biology and psychology. It's a degree called biopsychology, which is the best thing they had for neuroscience. So they didn't have a neuroscience degree. So I graduated with a double degree in biopsychology. And I went to law school after that instead of going to medical school, listening to my mentors. And so when I went to law school, and how I got involved in poetry is that when I went to law school, the last 2 years of law school, I didn't go to classes because I saw that it was really a scam. You only really need the first year of law school. The last 2 years, they're just billing you a tuition fee. Everything they're going to teach you, they pretty much can teach you in the first year. So in my free time, I formed a band, and that's where the poetry came from. So I formed a band, and I wrote all these songs. And then when I graduated law school, I went to school in Boston. I didn't want to be in the cold anymore. So I wanted to go where mangoes grow. So I went to Florida. I was there, and my band members were in Boston. So at that time, this was 1998, 1999. At that time, if people remember, there were open mic poetry spots all over the place. And you go to open mic poetry spots, and people were performing, and I'd never done poetry before. So one day I decided to just do one of my songs as a poem. And when I did it, a lot of people liked it. And then I started performing more. And then I found out that people were recording my performances and bootlegging the CDs. And it reached New York. I was in New York one time, and someone said, listen to this. And it was actually me performing in Miami. And it was just bootleg. They didn't say the name of the artist. They didn't say, well, that's me. And it was actually my cousin played it, and he didn't even believe it. And so when I saw that people were bootlegging my performances, I decided to bootleg the bootleggers. So I would take, you'd go to Harlem and you see people selling CDs. So I would take those CDs and copy them and then resell it. So that let me know that I needed to start recording my own album. So that's how I got involved in poetry. But fast forward, I end up in the Virgin Islands dealing with the University of Virgin Islands as a consultant for renewable energy projects. Because after the whole movement thing, I was living in Jamaica and spending time in Lagos. And we were having electricity problems in both countries, in Nigeria and Jamaica. And it didn't make much sense to me. And I realized that, we're children of the sun. And if we're even living in poverty, at least we have the sun, right? places, and why aren't we harnessing the electricity from the sun? So instead of complaining about it, I signed up to get certified in solar engineering and installation at the U.S. Solar Institute. So I did that. And by virtue of getting that certification, I was then offered a position with the University of Virgin Islands in their Caribbean Green Technology Center as a special advisor for all renewable energy projects in the Caribbean. So I dealt with a lot of the power purchase agreements in different countries in the Caribbean where solar firms get contracts with utilities to put up megawatts of solar, and I would review the contracts of my legal background, and then I had this engineering background in solar, so I could look at the designs and all of that and see what's right, what's wrong, and go through the legal stuff. So, but what happened was, while I'm there doing that, I see a documentary called Run from the Cure. Run from the Cure is a documentary about a man called Rick Simpson in Canada who's reversing people's cancer with cannabis oil. And I'm watching this, and the people with stage 4 cancer told that they're going to die, and they're telling their story of how they no longer have cancer because they took the cannabis oil. So to me, I thought this was the biggest news on earth. So this is around 2012. And I'm sitting on my porch watching this, and I'm like, why this is not the biggest news? Everyone knows someone who died of cancer. So I'm living in the Caribbean, and of course, there's no shortage of ganja. So I started doing my own experiments with ganja. He's using paint thinner, and then I started looking at the laws of solubility and see that cannabinoids are fat soluble. So I developed my own technique because paint thinner is carcinogenic. It's actually toxic. If you don't boil all of it off, you're using something to get rid of cancer, but then you're getting sick because you've got paint thinner in the residual extract. So I developed my own extraction technique using coconut oil. When I developed this, I gave it to people, and we were getting some good results. And I started giving lectures on the legal and medicinal history of cannabis. And that lecture, some of those lectures are still up on YouTube. So I gave lectures in the University of Virgin Islands in Jamaica, and started giving lectures in the States. And when I give these lectures, at the end of the lecture, there'd be a line of people going out the door, coming to tell me of the sick people in their family who were dying of cancer, and that could I help them by selling them some cannabis oil. Well, it became like one thing after another. I'm starting to get phone calls, man. You've been to Virgin Islands, and St. Thomas is a very beautiful island, and a lot of cruise ships come. So it got to the point where people were on cruise ships, man, and they would call me. Somehow they would get my number and be like, "Are you the guy with the cannabis oil? I need it desperately." They were talking about paying me like $10,000 for an ounce. That's how desperate people were. Cannabis oil, but I don't know if it's the feds. I don't know who's calling me, right? So I would always have to say no, because it's still a Schedule I drug, which is unconstitutional, by the way. We can have a whole show on that. But it's actually unconstitutional. It doesn't meet the rational basis test or the strict scrutiny test under constitutional law. And I don't know why and I've actually written a memorandum of law that has gotten cases dismissed because they don't want to take those cases, or else it'll form a precedent where then all cannabis prisoners would have to be freed. We could do a whole show just on the unconstitutionality of cannabis being Schedule I drug. It'd be probably very interesting because it talks about the history of the U.S. and racial bias laws, and it's just crazy how it even became illegal in the first place was because they scared white folks. Harry.
That's why we try to get the Heru show on Black Power Media. But
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not a problem at all, man. We could talk about that. But cannabis actually became illegal because Harry Anslinger, the father of today's DEA, testified in front of Congress that cannabis makes white women desire black jazz artists. That was his testimony, and the next day it became illegal. Like literally, we have quotes from Harry Anslinger that says, what's funny? I say some of these things and people are like, that can't be true. So, right. Whenever I talk, I like to give some type of receipts. So if you can I share my screen real quick?
Absolutely. And again, checking out Black Power Media. Heru gonna have a lot of y'all becoming black jazz artists tomorrow. You know what
Yeah, I'm gonna show you this quote by Harry Anslinger, man. And
like, man, I didn't even know you played the flute. You know what I'm saying? So
I know, right?
It's about to go down, Tenisio.
Yeah, I want to show you all
Piccolo pimping, bro. That's what they're gonna be doing.
Piccolo pimping.
Yeah. It's crazy, but these quotes is what led cannabis to become illegal, and it was really through the prodding of a guy named William Randolph Hearst.
Mm-hmm.
And William Randolph Hearst was a newspaper magnate. And as a newspaper magnate, he was one of the richest men in America who then bought acres and acres of trees. And when he bought these trees, the whole game was to sell paper to his competitors. So he'd be making money from them either way. So the problem was that there's a better source for paper, and it's cannabis, hemp paper. And hemp paper is actually what the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence is made out of, and it's been preserved very well because hemp doesn't degrade as quickly as trees, oak trees or whatever they're getting their pulp from. The problem was that you cannot mass produce hemp paper because hemp is the fiber is so solid that it would break the machines. Mm. So you could only make small amounts at a time, but acre per acre, 1 acre of hemp can produce 20 times the amount of trees than 1 acre of paper than regular trees. And then regular trees take 20 years to grow and hemp takes 5 months, right? So what happened was in the 1920s, a German guy created a machine called the decorticator, which is like the cotton gin for cotton. And what it did was it allowed processing of hemp at an industrial scale. So now you could make hemp paper in a very serious way. And that would have thrown off Willie Randolph Hearst millions of acres of trees investment, right? So because of that, when you could now process hemp at a serious level, he went to his friend Harry Anslinger, who was the head of today's DEA at the time, what is now known as the DEA, said we've got to make hemp illegal. And so one of the things that they did was they changed the name to what they call marijuana because they wanted to have an ethnic name. And marijuana was actually the name for wild Mexican tobacco. So they switched that over, and that's what they called cannabis, marijuana, so that it would sound exotic. And then he gives testimonies at the Congress, Harry Anslinger, on behalf and under the behest of William Randolph Hearst. And I'm going to show you Harry Anslinger's quote. I think this is it here. Yeah, that's it. Can you see this?
Let me see here.
Yeah.
Yep, here we go.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S., and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana usage. This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and any others. Harry J. Anslinger, testimony to U.S. Congress supporting Marijuana Tax Act, 1937.
Wow. You know,
Right.
it's these. I mean, and so this started the illegalization of what we're calling marijuana or cannabis. So
yes,
like
that's what started it.
One fell swoop.
Yeah, that's what started it. And before that, cannabis used to be the most prescribed medication according to the U.S. and the Canadian Pharmacopoeia, which is the compendium of medical interventions through pharmaceutical or herbal medicines for different diseases. Cannabis tinctures was the most popular. And because of the Marijuana Stamp Act, all of a sudden now cannabis as a medicine completely got taken out. All right. And then But this is I didn't want to get into all of it. We talking about bio, but this got into something else. We can talk about
it's cool because I know that, when you can't talk about your bio without giving a biography. And it's like it's important. Yeah. It's necessary because
I want to do all that, but I know that sometimes that when I make outrageous statements, I have to give receipts, right? So I wanted to give some type of receipts for your listeners,
Yes, sir.
But and there's more to it than that. But what happened was that because it's a Schedule 1 drug, I had to find another plant that could do the same things around cancer. And then I found studies that the leaves for the olive tree kill cancer tumors between 9 and 12 days. And this is studies on the U.S. National Institute of Health website. And I started seeing more studies on olive leaf extract and cancer. Then I saw that not only did it kill cancer, it reversed high blood pressure. Not only did it reverse high blood pressure, it reversed diabetes. Not only did it reverse diabetes, it also kills pathogens such as viruses, bacterial infections, fungal infections, and parasitical infections. So, and then it also is probably the top herb for reversing inflammation. And so inflammation is the root cause of many of these diseases. So I said, wow, we got all in one. So I started making, because I had learned how to extract medicine very well with cannabis, I started making olive leaf extract. And I gave it to myself first. It reversed my eczema that I had for over 20 years. And then it reversed my asthma that I had all my life. Then I gave it to friends of mine who had high blood pressure, reversed their high blood pressure, consistent with the studies. Gave it to friends with diabetes, reversed their diabetes. And then I started selling it at a farmer's market in the Virgin Islands every week. And then a couple months later, I got a phone call from a gentleman called Dr. Charles Harrigan, who wanted to thank me for saving his life. And it turned out that he had prostate cancer. And he took my olive leaf extract and it reversed his prostate cancer. So we have videotape of his testimonial on my website, herbalresults.net. Then a couple months later, another person calls me, a woman calls me and says she had a breast tumor that was cancerous, and she took the olive leaf extract and her breast tumor went away. And she was just saying, thank you. People get very grateful. Anything you need, I'll do. And the only thing I asked them is agree to do a video testimonial. So you'll see those video testimonials on the website. And so one thing led to another. Then as we're getting these reversals, compiling the evidence through not just scientific studies, but human testimonials, I started seeing some trends around cancer reversal in antiparasitics. And I started discovering that there are many studies that show that cancer is actually a parasite, or it's related to parasites, or it's caused by parasites. It's called the parasitic origin of cancer. And these studies existed since the 1890s. And they're in the New England Medical Journal and all these, British Medical Journal. And I start understanding more about cancer. And then I write a book called The Successful Eradication of Cancer Using Intracellular Parasite Theory, where I find out, what's feeding cancer, which is glucose mainly. So you cut out sugar, and then you raise the immune system, find out what are the main nutrients the immune system needs, which is like magnesium, selenium, zinc, vitamin D, step that up with people, and then have people take antiparasitics, which is olive leaf extract. And then, I give people a list of antiparasitics that they can take because I understand the modality. And so we did all of that and made it comprehensive and formed a protocol around it that people can access, and started giving lectures around it. And this is where the good brother Tenisio comes in. I've been giving these lectures in different places. A lot of lectures in New York City and Washington, D.C., and Tenisio's in Atlanta. And, amongst the brotherhood, they're all saying, hey, we need to get this information out. And so we've been doing lectures. And so I'm about to pass the baton to Tenisio, but this is really what happened was in April, I did a first lecture in Atlanta on cancer and reversing cancer. And it was very well attended, and many people with cancer came. Right. Out of that lecture, 4 of the people who were attending the lecture or had a friend attend the lecture did the protocol. And this was in April. And now they've come back with full cancer reversals. And they're going to be present on Saturday, this Saturday coming in Atlanta. Those 4 people, where I'm presenting living receipts. So I'll be giving a lecture on reversing diabetes and high blood pressure. But the second half of the lecture, the floor is going to be the living testimonials of 4 people, two brothers who had prostate cancer. Everyone they're in their 60s. Stage 3 prostate cancer, 97% of the prostate was covered with tumors. He did the protocol with the olive leaf and all that. Reversal, full reversal, no evidence of disease. Another brother in Atlanta is coming to tell his story. His PSA numbers were over 20. Took the olive leaf extract, did the protocol for 2 months, just 2 months he did, and his PSA went down to 0.1. For those who don't know, anything above 4 is seen as cancerous. Anything below 1, you're basically like an 18-year-old athlete, and his is like 0.1, 0.5. And we have a elder woman and 76 years young. She's coming to talk about her liver cancer diagnosis, stage 4, spread to her kidneys. They told her she had 3 months to live. And she's actually, you may know Dr. Dana Denard out of Tallahassee. I don't know if you know him, but he's well known, and a lot of folks in Atlanta, he mentored them because he's a professor at FAMU. But his cousin, he gave it to his cousin. That's his cousin who's coming. They gave her 90 days to live. And her 90th day was in August. And when she went to her doctor in August, the doctor said your liver and your kidneys are fine. Everything's clear. And that was when supposed to be when she was supposed to die. She used to be bedridden, and all she did was the olive. None of these people did the chemo and the radiation and the surgery. And then we have probably the most poignant story is a woman out of Atlanta who was diagnosed with stage 4 adenocarcinoma, which is a certain type of cancer that spreads mainly in the lungs and in different organs of the body. Her biggest issue was it spread all over her lungs, and she could hardly breathe when she walked. And they told her she didn't have long to live. She didn't even want to know. They told her daughter, she told her daughter, don't tell her, but said it doesn't look good at all. So after her prognosis, she literally went to the cemetery to pick out her own grave plot so her family wouldn't have to do it. At the cemetery, she meets one of the workers in an insurance department of the cemetery who is trained to tell people condolences, for your family member who passed away or what have you. Tells her that, and the woman says, not for my family member, it's for me. So she's shocked. And she said, what's going on? She said, well, I've been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I can barely walk and breathe. And, my time is up. And so the sister at the cemetery is a Facebook friend of mine who attended the lecture in April. She knew me from my, the post that I make. And she said, I don't think it's over. If something can help you, please call Heru at Herbal Results. And that day she called me and she started the protocol. And months later, we have her PET scans and all of that. All the cancer from her lungs are gone. The tumors have cleared up. She did have tumor in her brain, and we're still working on that. But it hasn't grown in 9 months. And this is a very aggressive form of cancer. So she's doing very well. She's able to, do jumping jacks on trampolines in her backyard. She lost 120 pounds because she was obese. Her high blood pressure is gone. Her diabetes is gone. And all of these people that I'm talking about, the 4 people that I named, they all had high blood pressure and diabetes too, along with cancer. And because it's a metabolic problem. And so all of their issues are gone without any medication. No high blood pressure, no diabetes, no cancer. And they're going to be talking there live and direct. So the stage is going to be full of cancer reversals, high blood pressure, diabetes reversals, all in one person each. So it's not like one cancer reversal, one high blood pressure, no. All 3 reversals in all 4 people, right? And they're going to tell their story, and I'm not even going to talk. They're just going to tell their story, and they'll be able to answer questions and be inspirations to other people that they don't have to go the toxic route. And there are a couple of them are firecrackers. You think you think I sound revolutionary when I talk about health? You got to hear them, because they've been able to come out the other side of the tunnel, and they saw what the medical system was trying to do to them, and they refused. And so these are very radical people, and they're going to talk about what their doctors tried to tell them, how their doctors yelled and screamed at them, and they refused. Especially the woman, the 76-year-old woman coming in who had the liver. You got to wait to hear her talk. You know, her rap is she told her doctors that she wasn't going to buy them a Lamborghini. So she wasn't going to do the chemo. She wasn't going to do the radiation. She wasn't going to do the surgery they were going to bill her for, end up making her even sicker, and then end up dying because she's seen too many people die, painful deaths from these procedures and these, medications. So she went ahead and did something else, and she's going to tell her story, and the rest of them are going to tell their story. And I think it's going to be historic, because I don't think that anyone has ever done anything like this before in the healing community, or at least the medical community, where we have people who actually did the protocol, and 2 to 3 months later, we're coming back showing you the results. They have their PET scans, they have their reports, and they have their health, and they have family members come to say how bad they were doing. And it's going to be quite emotional, and it's going to be historic, and it is going to be the embodiment of Kuji Chagalia, in the sense of self-determination. We're solving our own problems. We are not relying on people who do not mean us well to solve our problems and to save our lives. It makes no sense to put our lives in the hands of careless people careless and malicious people. The number 3 leading cause of death is iatrogenics, which is death by doctor. And that's according to Johns Hopkins University and Harvard University. So the third most dangerous place to be in terms of your life is under the care of the medical system. So what we're going to do, man, is pass the baton to Brother Tenisio. He could talk about it because he is one of the main organizers of this. It's his brainchild to do this Eradicate conference. And, I'm pleased that I'll be there on Saturday doing this. On Friday, there'll be also a lecture by somebody close to Tenisio. He'll talk about that. On reversing illnesses as well, a medical doctor, Dr. Ruby Swift, Tenisio's wife. But Tenisio is doing a real solid for the Atlanta community, as someone who's been, part and parcel of a lot of movements in Atlanta, cultural movements, spiritual movements, political movements in Atlanta. And he's branching out into this health issue because he simply cares about our people. There's a team of brothers involved in this, and we're here to make a difference, man. So I'm gonna pass it over to Brother Tenisio. And we do have the flyer that we can share, but I'll ask Tenisio to do all of that. But I have it on my desktop ready to share. So whenever you all are ready, go ahead, Tenisio.
And real quick, man, before I let the brother come in, Brother Heru, man, you hit on a lot of important points there, man. Like you said, we could do a whole show about a few of these this man. But I think this is real important talk, man. So appreciate you being here, man. This is key for our listeners and everything, man. A lot of great information here that we want to get into, man. But definitely love to hear from the brother Tenisio. Tell us a little bit about your bio, man, please.
Sure. Well, give thanks for having us on the show. And yeah, with regards to bios, let me start the way I typically always do these days, which is my bio starts with my great grandfather, Augusta Long, who his father, Albert Long, bestowed land to him. And this land has been in our family since 1882 in a place called Gause, Texas. Why I start with that is, number one, it's always important to know, who are the people that created those of us who, we hear from, right? We think about, El Hajj Malik al-Shabaz's parents, right? We know that there was a very significant influence from who they were into who he is, right? And so I say that because that land being in my family has really influenced a lot of who I am and all the different hats that I wear. So looking at some of those hats, right? One of them is that I was an FM broadcaster, right? And was doing that work really on behalf of the community. in a way in which people like Kalonji, many others, it could be Dr. Sabi, right? It could be Dick Gregory, George Clinton, you name it, right? They would come on the show, talk about what they do. And it was done in a way in which, traditionally you see those type of people, on the bigger stations, but we were doing it at the community level at a local station, right? And I think something about that made those people even more relatable and felt more touchable, right, than they may have been perceived due to the glamour and glitz of their names and just the work that they were doing, right? So much so that, me and my brother Kalonji, we worked on the case of a political prisoner, the ancestor Troy Davis, right? And that allowed us to be able to also demonstrate to people the power of new media, because though I was on FM radio, we were also able to transfer that movement off of the radio, even off of the streets, and into platforms such as Google Voice, right? Such as Facebook, and galvanize support around that brother's case. Those touch points with the activist side and the FM broadcast side also got me in contact with people who are working in the health and wellness space and also agriculture. And so in relation to agriculture in particular, I was able to really understand how important the land was. And this is why, again, I bring up my ancestor, right? Because my father, rest in peace, was always talking to me about growing up on that land and stressed the importance of being connected to it. But it was very vicarious. I had never even been to this land before, just heard about it. But then finally got a chance to meet farmers. And one of them in our community, a brother by the name of Eugene Alala Cook, he was stating that, with all respect due, he was like, activists of all shapes and forms, we owe them a debt of gratitude. But he was like, if you're not giving gratitude to the farmer, you're missing the biggest activist that there is. Because every single person has to eat. It could be your open enemy. It could be your comrade. They all have one thing in common. They have to interact with the land. And if we don't give respect to the agrarians and the agrarian societies and all the different ways that we benefit from it, then we're missing a huge point of support. And so I literally changed careers off of that interview. It didn't happen immediately, but it was one in which I had actually traveled, lived on the continent for a period of time in Lagos, where our brother mentioned he spent some time, and got a chance to really, of course, interact with the place that, we all in some way, shape, or form want to go back to and really connect with. And when I saw some of the opportunities there, one of them that stood out to me was actually the green infrastructure that was not there, but could be there. And so when I got a chance to come back to the US, I actually went back to school and got a degree in green enterprise management with the intent to focus on green energy. However, that interview about agriculture kept ringing in my head. And so I actually was one night sitting up doing some work, and a job offer from the very farmers that I had interviewed came up that fit my profile. And I had said, you know what, man, this is, to me, a sign. I need to take advantage of this. And I literally began to work at a farm in 2012 and have stayed in that agricultural space ever since then. But going back just a little bit to come forward, I've been a health and wellness advocate pretty much since the days I first heard Ham and Eggs, by Tribe Called Quest, right? Or Beef by BDP, or Be Healthy by Dead Prez. These are songs that heavily influenced me. And I remember when the E. coli scare of 98 took place, where a lot of the beef was contaminated. At that time, I was eating everything, as we in the South say, from Rudy to the Tootie. And I was actually a customer of a famous fast food restaurant, AKA Murder King. And, I couldn't figure out, like, man, how am I going to avoid this E. coli? I was so just not really aware that it was like, you could eat something else, right? I was just stuck on, like, man, that's what I eat. That's my favorite food. I'm going to get E. coli. And there was a radio broadcast that I was listening to, and the lady said, not to be insensitive to any of my folks, who are eating meat, but she was like, I don't worry about that particular ailment as it's being, coming into our society now, because I don't eat those foods. And so I actually went cold turkey right then. I stopped, eating chicken, beef, everything, and just went plant-based. But also I understood it is bigger than just being plant-based. I had to really focus on, like, how do I supplement the body? How do I get back into, looking at the holistic set of health? And so from that point on, around 98 until now, I've been on that journey. And this intersection between them really started coming together as I began to then run my own farm. And that's kind of where we'll transition into how we got to Eradicate, is that running my own farm really helped me see, number one, where does the health of, herbs, supplements, things like that really come from? Well, number one, it comes from the soil itself, right? If you don't have healthy soil, you don't have healthy plants. And so your job as an actual agrarian is actually more about managing the soil. Because even if you're, let's say, a herder, if you're managing animals, most of those animals are plant-based, and a lot of their diseases come from not eating the healthiest of items they consume. And so you could really say I'm more of a soil scientist. And that led me to really understand, okay, well, how do we get our people back to having the best quality products possible? And in some of the circles that I was running in, our good brother Heru, Ofori-Atta's name kept coming up about this product line that he had, Herbal Results. And when I finally got a chance to meet him, me and some of the other brothers who we have a strong network, we really had to figure out, like, how do we take all of our respective knowledge and form like Voltron and really push forth. And we decided that what Heru is doing is something that I think we can really start to put some points on the leaderboard, around, which is, if you've got people who are literally dealing with chronic diseases they're basically being dismissed or taxed by the medical system, by the insurance system, then we've got to figure out how we can eliminate those pathways to those systems. And we realized that, okay, he's got this product line. Some of us, like me, got land. How do we figure out how to join those two things together? So I'm currently growing the actual raw goods that eventually, we would like to get into the product line, right? Because I see the importance of getting the best quality. Until we get there, though, we need to get people to understand the what behind, the why. And the what is, you can do this yourself. You can heal these diseases yourself. And we want to educate people on how to do that, so they don't even have to rely upon us. This is us working ourselves out of a job. And getting people to understand the processes on how to actually heal yourself is number one. Because after that, if they do, let's say, find themselves under the standard of care of the medical system, they can at least ask some very key questions, right? They can talk shop with their doctor, because most people get scared when they get in front of the doctor. They know something doesn't feel right, but they don't really know how to, like, go toe to toe with that individual. And you'll learn how to do that after coming to, our conference. But number two, it's ultimately on us to provide the source for our solution, even beyond the knowledge. We have got to learn to manage the land, right? In our circles, we hear free the land. I mean, we hear that. Right. Now it's time to really apply it. Not saying it's not being applied, but I'm just saying there's always more that we can do. And that's where I see myself playing a role as both as let's say, an advocate for being able to take control through the consumption, right, through the production. But we've got to make sure that we take the little bits of land we have to the largest pieces of lands that we have, and we really begin to manage it in a way that solves our problem, because they're not making any more land. I can guarantee you that. And we have the opportunity to take control of one of the best assets we possibly have, which is these two hands and the land that we walk on. And that's how this is all starting to merge together.
No doubt. You're checking out Black Power Media Reloaded. We have our guests, Heru and Tenisio. Of course, my brother Fernando is riding shotgun over in the criminal colony of France. You know what I'm saying? We're going to a few different things. First of all, I want to say Tenisio mentioned our brother Troy Anthony Davis.
Oh, shit.
He would have been 57 years old today. Today was his born date. He'd have been 57 years old today, but unfortunately he was executed at age 42. Also want to point out that there's a lot going on internationally. I know that, when we talk about healthcare, one of our favorite places in the world when we speak on healthcare, free medical care, et cetera, is Cuba. But there's a crisis going on in Cuba right now that we're going to talk about when we get back from a quick break. I want to remind folks that today, Friday, the 10th, is when the Eradicate conference starts. So I want to point that out, and we'll be getting some news and information on that. And we're also going to talk about herbalresults.net, where you can get some of this good product that we're talking about because of the fact that we understand that health is wealth. And we also going to be talking about the fact that we've invited Tenisio and Heru on to have a show. So they might as well do a show together, but I ain't going to say nothing about that right now. But I'm just saying I'm going to be pushing those buttons because this information needs to be out. And again, they both bring a wealth of knowledge. I see Tenisio as a young elder. You know what I'm saying? He's, I think he's younger than me. I don't know. Sometime when I'm talking to him, I don't know. I think he like a Nancy. You know what I'm saying? He be coming with it. But anyway, we're going to go to a quick musical selection. What we got on deck, Fernando? Who we got coming up?
We got the brother N-E-S-S, Ness, RBG, you know what I mean, from out of Philadelphia. He's just dropped his new album. It's called It's More of Us Than Them. Okay. And this track right here is Capitalism.
And for folks who are unfamiliar with Ness, they had a group called the Airlikes back in the day. And I think the Airlikes was probably on Movement Tunes as well. They was out the whole RBG camp, Dead Prez, etc. And we first met, I was introduced to them by our brother Kamel Bell, who was the son of political prisoner Herman Bell, because he was like, yo, there's a group that got a song out called FTP. Y'all need to link up. And so we did. You know what I mean? So shout out to Ness, the Airlikes, RBG crew, etc. Dead Prez on their 25th year anniversary. And we're going to go to the song. It's called what, brother?
It's called things, my bad. Things I Had to Do, Capitalism.
I think Fernando might have had some of that cannabis that Heru was talking about. We're going to investigate when we get back. It's the Black Power Media Rise Up Morning Show. We're in the building.
Let's get the money. I have to go to the store, rob, steal.
Yeah, don't work. Things a nigga had to do to make a living. Stealing, robbing, copper, flipping, bag and slinging. Grinning, buried in the mirror, stop your bitching. Get up and get it and go home. Yeah. Things a nigga had to do to make a living. Stealing, robbing, copper, flipping, bag and slinging. Grinning, buried in the mirror, stop your bitching. Let's take it back. Get up and get it and go home. I wanted to draw comic books, play ball, shit like that. Big house, by my mama house, shit like that. Then the realities are like, give you a smack. Thinking back, forks in the road, this where we at. After high school, went to school, down south, FAMU, graphic design, J school, financial aid to pay for school, but shit ain't paid for everything. Part-time job pay was cool, but not enough when rent was due. Things I had to do, I did the math. What you know about trade bags and marijuana? Far from home, you could tell that we out of town. There's no need for drama, we just trying to make a couple dollars. Mommy back home, waking up a la madrugada. Costco 20 years, hard working, Dominicana. Many jobs throughout the years, 9 to 5s and 5 to 9ers. Worked in hospitals, kitchen chicken spots and like diners. Worked at Hard Rock Stadium when it was Joe Robbie. 3 kids did what she had to do, salute the mommy. Talking about hard work, who work harder than mommy. Donya always on time, worked overtime, mommy. Rich and spared, but we lived in poverty. We lived in, things that mommy had to do to make a living. Leave the kids at the crib while she gigging. Rob Paul to pay Peter shit plus penny pension. Fuck them holidays, she even worked Christmas and Thanksgiving, nigga. Things a nigga had to do to make a living. Stealing, robbing, copper, flipping, bag and slinging. Grinning, buried in the mirror, stop your bitching. Get up and get it or go hungry. Capitalism. Things a nigga had to do to make a living. Stealing, robbing, copper, flipping, bag and slinging. Grinning, buried in the mirror, stop your bitching. Get up and get it or go hungry. Capitalist. Get up and get it or go home. Capitalism. Get your ass up and get it or be homeless. Capitalism. Word. The system don't work, nigga. Fuck the system. The system don't work, nigga. Fuck the system. Let's tell mommy story. Fuck the system. Stories of the third world. The system don't work. Origin story. So mommy, how did you meet Pop? Love you, mommy. Oh, word. Check. Mommy married Pop for the money. Dami story, young girl from the country. Campesina, but that term type derogatory. Some nights in El Campo, mommy went to bed hungry. In La Cama, mommy praying, please, Lord have mercy. No rest for the weary, she up bright and early. Still dark out, mommy up before the sun. Working barefoot, carry water, working since a little girl. Since 4 years old, I've been working, let mommy tell it. Reminiscing on the childhood, tears will well up. In her eyes, I can see her life in times. Memory spinning through her mind like a single engine plane propeller. As a teen, she was sent to the city to work for a family. Work for the family, sending money back home. Help out Bella with her younger siblings. If you only knew what she had to do. Capitalist. Things a nigga had to do to make a living. Stealing, robbing, copper, flipping, bagging, slinging. Grinning, buried in the mirror, stop your bitching. Get up and get it or go home. Capitalist. Things a nigga had to do to make a living. Stealing, robbing, copper, flipping, bagging, slinging. Grinning, buried in the mirror, stop your bitching. Get up and get it or go home. Capitalist.
But I'm afraid that it is not.
Mrs. Haynes.
We're live and direct. This is the Rise Up International Morning Show. I got my brother Tenisio on deck. Fernando, you good?
I'm good, man. I'm good to go, man. Shout out to the brother Ness, man. He's gonna be back on the Vital Hoops real soon, man.
Okay. Tell folks what Vital Hoops is, brother, because I know it's an international show, but everybody might not be on it.
No doubt, man. Vital Hoops podcast. That's my show. That's right here. Platform on Black Power Media Reloaded. A touch on everything that's a part of my life and what it is that I do from hip hop culture, basketball, of course, Pan-Africanism, health and wellness, Afro-veganism, all of that. So Vital Hoops podcast comes on every other Thursday, right here on Black Power Media Reloaded, at 3 p.m. Eastern.
No doubt. And for folks that don't know, Fernando's a former professional basketball player. So Tenisio was just thinking about, when you said Vital Hoops, he was thinking about taking you to the court. But I don't know, Tenisio.
Tenisio, you hoop, my brother?
In Kalonji's dreams, but in my reality, no. No, I don't hoop. Funny you say that, though. I did actually race a young man about 30 years younger than me about a week and a half ago. And though he did beat me, he only beat me by about 2 people's length. But when I tell you, man, the recovery time at this age, man, is
yeah, that's tough.
Woo. Yeah, so I'm good.
I like how you're a ball player in my dream. I don't know what.
Yeah, your dreams, brother. I know you're trying to get, your management position in order.
Yeah, I mean,
IL deal, but no, man, I'm not ready.
I'm trying to get like Heru, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to Heru. What they say, a true Jamaican, he got 8 jobs. Anyway, we back. This is the Rise Up International Morning Show. Tell us what to expect during the Eradicate conference, and we have someone that we all know and love that's going to be kicking it off, man. I know you probably love her more than we do, but for folks who are familiar, tell us a little something about what's taking place this weekend, starting today, Friday the 10th, brother.
Yes, sure. Well, first and foremost, make sure you are familiar with the website you see captioned under my name, eradicateconference.com. Just in case you miss anything I say, you can go there and get all the information you need. But the Eradicate Conference is actually a series. And so as Heru mentioned earlier, it started this past April where we covered the subject of cancer. This time we're covering the subject of diabetes and heart disease. And we're going to have it be a 2-part conference in which on Friday evening, you'll actually get a chance to hear from a medical doctor, which happens to be the woman that I'm married to, my wife, Dr. Ruby Swift. She is actually what she'll brand herself as a plant-based pediatrician and family medicine professional. She also has her master's in public health. And so you can imagine being a farmer, being a medical doctor, you know, we get to have some very interesting conversations. And one of them sparked up, you know, when I was looking at what Heru had talked about with regards to how doctors of the people that he's been able to help cure themselves never asked any critical questions about, well, what did you do? And he would say, like, you know, doctors don't seem to have an intellectual curiosity about this. Talking to my wife, I'm like, look, you know, I'm going to assume you're not one of those type of doctors, right? I've been with you long enough to know what your concerns are. And so not only is she going to be speaking about her perspective on how to also address some of these issues from a medical doctor's position, but we've actually begun working on having her interview a lot of the people that Heru has worked with, just so that we can put that final stamp of approval on it for any of the doubters that, look, you've got people actually in the medical profession who are validating what's being said by this brother here. If you need any more receipts than that, hey, you know, you're going to have to probably suffer some of those ailments and go through it yourself in order to be a believer. So she's going to share her perspectives, not only on how to address some of these chronic symptoms, but also give her own level of feedback as to what she was able to see as a medical doctor. And I think you all are going to be very excited. You know, I get to have the pillow talk around some of these conversations, and I know what she's going to share is going to really be inspiring for people, you know, on that Friday evening. So that'll be from 7 to 10 tonight, right? But then tomorrow, of course, we have Brother Heru, who's going to be focusing on his 3-step protocol, right? So one of the things that I love hearing Heru talk about is how to get some of the most sophisticated results, you actually don't need a very complex system to accomplish what you need to do. You know, oftentimes we're trying to look for the, you know, the loudest and proudest way to make a point, but sometimes keeping it very simple, like our African proverbs, right, is what we need. And so it's been able to, shall we say, present that in a functional manner when it comes to dealing with these ailments. And so that 3-pronged system is what he's going to be sharing with people, not only so that they can walk away equipped to handle these situations that they're dealing with, but they can also be educators of their family members, right? It's not enough to just have to have your, you know, guru, if you will, be the one that's always got to be referenced. Like, no, can you take control and be able to speak the talk that you need to help your family member out, right? To help yourself out, to teach others how to be able to rectify these issues, because that is what I think is a key element that gave our indigenous societies their power. You know, you think about the rites of passage. It wasn't an option. Everybody had to go through it, right? Everybody got put on to the game that was necessary to keep their communities, their tribes, their nations intact at a certain age. And you had to honor that all the way through life. Well, if we break that down into their smallest compounds, we definitely know that health and wellness is one of those. Because if you can't get up and even move your body, how you going to fight some real revolutionary? You can't do that.
Right.
It's just, it doesn't go together, right? So we want to make sure that our people are equipped at the very base level, which is, can you fight the war within yourself, you know, and both physically and metaphysically, to get out here and then be able to do the more time and space fight, you know, with the Tangerine crew, you know, with the the other crews out there, the 4-letter crews, the 3-letter crews, right, that are fighting our community. We got to be ready for battle. So all of that being said, this all takes place starting tonight from 7 p.m. until 10. It goes on till tomorrow from 5 to 10 over at the Arts Exchange, and that is located at 2148 Noonan Street in East Point, Georgia. There's some VIP options that are available, and as Heru mentioned, those VIP options actually extend to everybody, because if you get to hear from 4 people who have said, I went through these ailments and I'm scot-free, and I just started the last lecture, I don't know how much more of a sign the universe is giving you that you're in the right place at the right time. I would like to even also say that we have another special invited guest. In fact, not invited, he's confirmed, is that, believe it or not, a very strong proponent for olive leaf extract and its healing modalities is actually the son of Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, that being Dr. Benjamin L. Mays Jr. he's going to actually be there to talk about his advocacy for the works of Heru, because he's had an opportunity to be using olive leaf extract not only on an individual level, but he actually is a proponent of it to his congregation and has actually seen the effect of olive leaf extract on some of his congregation members. And so we're looking forward to hearing his testimony, because now we're starting to bridge the gaps between, you know, some of our circles of influence, right? You know, we, like you said, we roll with, you know, the ones that they got, you know, what some would say some rough edges around them, you know, but it ain't rough, you know, when it's a blade, you know, but some people got to be spoon fed, right? And we know we've got people who have influence on the other side. And I would be remiss to not mention Dr. Mays's support of this, because now we can really begin to cross the boundaries of all the people in our community and get everyone on board so that we can talk one talk when it comes to erasing this particular issue in our community, which is bad health and wellness. We've been fed that slave diet too long, and it's time to get it up out of us and get back to being the optimal versions of ourselves. We know black don't crack, but we don't, it ain't enough to not just crack. We need black to shine. You know, we need it to be flossy, and that's what we're aiming for with the Eradicate Conference series.
Speaking of shining, I'm sure we gotta get some of that shea butter Fernando got, because he's looking real shiny over there over the spot. But I want to while we talking about this, I want to ask you, for folks who are checking it out, and I'm just joking, Fernando, I'm just hating because my camera looking dark over here. So you know what I'm saying? It's just, you know how we do. But I wanted to ask, are there any virtual options? Because I know that last time you had virtual options, so folks should just go to eradicateconference.com for that as well.
That's right. Yeah, you can get online and check us out from wherever you are in the world, in addition to being there in person. So yeah, eradicateconference.com is where you'll be able to learn more. And I'll say this kind of as a projection into the future, because what we've been also doing is these webinars that are free for the community. You know, we understand that not everybody's going to be able to be there in person or even virtually on the day of. But in the spirit, I'll say, of Tuskegee Institute, you know, who a lot of people don't know, they are who started what's known as cooperative extension, where we take the information that we've built within our institutions and go out to the community and give it to them. And they did that with agriculture. We've been doing that with health and wellness with the Eradicate webinar series. So the last one that we just did was last night for this particular conference. But you'll get a chance to really engage with us as we go through the next round of series, by also making sure that you check out eradicatewebinar.com, because you'll be able to get some free information that you can implement immediately. But yeah, we've got everybody covered, whether you're in Atlanta or elsewhere around the globe. Please go on to eradicateconference.com, get your tickets, tell somebody about it. And I think you'll be very pleased with this investment into your own well-being. You will get the results that you're looking for.
No doubt. And you'll also hear more about the Eradicate Conference in the future when you check out the show with Heru and Tenisio right here on Black Power Media. Anyway,
I got the tools right in front of me, brother. So you know,
my man, you know me.
Okay.
You know me. I'm like, let him at him. Real quick, Fernando.
Yes.
In international news, we have some things going on in Cuba, and since we have Heru on deck, I know that Heru is a wealth of knowledge. As is, you know, our brother Tenisio, and before I go any further on that, folks see it that it says Basu Tenisio Seanima, and a lot of folks aren't familiar with the title Basu. So for folks who don't know, because of the fact that you left something out on the bio that I'm familiar with, so I wanted you to just tell us what that title means, brother.
Sure. Yeah. No, that is a ancient Egyptian, or what more is appropriately called Kemetic title, one in which I actually earned directly from one of the brothers that is helping to produce the Eradicate Conference, that being a gentleman by the name of Neter Ankh Aku. And a Basu is one who actually assists people in being able to, and you know, I think our crowd can handle what I'm getting ready to say, the resurrection of your soul. All right. What I mean by that is we are all on a journey, right, that is both physical and spiritual. And the ability to, quote unquote, resurrect your soul, means just to really bring it back to a state of pure detachment from the existence of time and space. Now that's, going to be difficult in many different ways for a lot of us. Me, I'm an activist at heart, right? So to detach from it can be somewhat complicated. However, getting to a place to where you recognize the ebbs and flows of life in real time sometimes requires some assistance, so it just doesn't bring you down, right? And a Basu does that through the act of comedic yoga. And so the simplest way to put it is I'm a comedic yoga instructor, but not in the same way in which, folks is out here trying to get a yoga booty, at Amy Asiflat's class. Like we ain't doing that. We doing something a lot deeper, right? Helping you understand the principles of Ma'at and knowing how to make them functional. Helping you make sure that this temple that you walk with is in optimal form, not just for vain reasons, but again, for the ability for you to be able to do the work that you do on this planet at its best optimal means. And so as a Basu, I have a great responsibility to not only show, but also prove how if we just align ourselves with some of those very ancient principles that were given to us by our Kemetic ancestors in the form of Ma'at, that we can get some very great results. As Heru even mentioned, though it of course comes through more of an East African perspective, but we know all those borders and all that, we know that don't mean nothing. But he talked about Kuji Chagalia, right? There's forms of those same principles in Ma'at, and it's now time to put them into action and not just, look at them as something cute on the board or inside a book. It's got to be functional. And Basu is just one of the other ways that I'm able to fulfill that mission.
No doubt. So you won't be getting any BBLs from the Basu. Anyway, my brother Fernando.
Look,
what's happening in Cuba?
It's crazy that real quick before I get into Cuba, man. It's crazy that you said that because we just got done. We just had this past couple. It's been 2 weekends now that we just had our Afro Vegan Fest that we organized here, and we had a sister doing Smai Tawi, Asian Egyptian yoga, and the people loved it, man, and she went through with it, and she was teaching it as well, you know what I'm saying? People had brought their mats, they did, but she was teaching it as well, and it was really dope. We got a lot of positive feedback from that. Awesome. But just to get back on holistic, man, health and wellness is so important, like you said, and us being in the struggle, for our people, for African liberation, understanding, like you said, first of all, what we put into our bodies, but I think one of the main problems with modern medicine today is that it's not holistic at all, meaning that you go see someone because you have a problem in your hand, and then they're only focusing on the hand itself and not looking at the problem can come from over here and from all the way up here and from other things. And I think us understanding that everything has to be holistic, like you spoke about the soil and the importance of the health of the soil, and this is how we are all of our bodies connected, but not just that, we're connected to nature as well because we're a part of it. And I think we've lost that, you know what I mean? We've lost that. Our people have lost that over the time, on that understanding. You know what I'm saying? That we have to be connected to everything, to the soil, to all of that. So I think that's really key. We have to get our people back on that. And so that's why I also focus a lot on health and holistic health and wellness when it comes to organizing and all of that, man. But yeah, to get back to Cuba. So like I said, earlier, Kalonji was saying, I'm Afro-Cuban, so I'm currently living in France, but a lot of my family is still back in Cuba, and things are difficult right now. Obviously, we know about, the embargo, the U.S. embargo, the blockade. There's also a lot of things that could be handled better inside the island, but right now there has been there's a lot of power cuts. We have problems with the power grids over there. There's there's water shortage, meaning that there's no running water. Like I spoke to my family recently. Well, I have people living in different places, but one of the places they haven't had running water for a month. They have to go out, get water, come back. Some of them have water like coming in a couple times a week. They have to fill up tanks and things, but sometimes it's really not enough. And just recently, there's like a resurgence of mosquito-borne diseases, right? So there's Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. right? Which are basically the chikungunya. It really attacks your joints in your body, right? So it will give you like a fever, and then you'll feel like, you know, you'll have pain in the joints and some inflammation as well. And then usually you get a mosquito, he comes through and he might bite the whole the whole family, you know what I'm saying? So then everybody's having it, and it's real problems. And with we have other problems over there, which is, you know, with the shortage of water and all of that. It's also difficult to clean the streets and all these things. So you can imagine, like, there's a lot of trash, and you know, it causes mosquitoes to be around and things like that. So we medicine is scarce as well. Like I said, you know, there's the blockade, there's a lot of things going on. So the hospitals are, you know, it's free healthcare, but a lot of times our people don't have what they need to give to the people as far as, you know, medicine and all of that. So, and a lot of our people have forgotten some of our, you know, house remedies and things like that from our ancestors. Um, and sometimes it can be complicated. And so I wanted to come to you, brother, see if you knew anything about that, and any possibilities, things that people could do. Also, as far as maybe some things can be done as far as prevention as well, you know, just to be careful with all of that. But yeah.
Yeah, man. Pleasure to talk about this and help you on this. But yeah, I'm very familiar with mosquito-borne illnesses coming from West Africa. We deal with yellow fever. We deal with malaria quite often. And I lived in the Caribbean too, particularly when chikungunya and Zika was real big some years ago. Right. So it gave me an opportunity to look into this very deeply.
Okay.
So the fact that you brought this up, I'm kind of smiling because I had an opportunity to look into this deeply. So I'm definitely not freestyling here. So this would probably be a good time for the listeners to take notes who are interested in eradicating mosquito-borne illnesses, because I'm going to go step by step. So I just want to make sure that people are ready. All right. So the main mosquito-borne illnesses is malaria, yellow fever, dengue fever, chikungunya, and Zika. Okay. What we're talking about for Cuba, things that you mentioned, we need to understand that some of those are viral infections and some of those are parasitic infections. And in a lot of cases, viruses can be considered parasites too, but they have a different modality of replication. So this is going to be very important. So I created a product called olive leaf extract that I said earlier that it reverses all types of infections, right? All types of pathogens. And so the story is that I was in Ghana some years ago. Let me share my screen. And I had posted that I was in Ghana on online, on Facebook or any one of these social medias, and people started contacting me. It was a gentleman who lived a couple hours away from Accra, where I was. And what happened was that his daughter had been suffering from malaria for about 2 to 3 weeks, and none of the conventional medicines were working. And she was basically looked like she was going to die soon. The malaria parasite had just replicated so much in her body that her body functions were starting to really be depleted and deprecated. So he contacted me, asked me if the olive leaf would work, and I said, you know, it's worth a try. And I have researched that it certainly works for malaria. And I remember him taking a taxi to me that took about 2.5 hours. So he came from pretty far. And he gave this to his daughter, the olive leaf, and this is her right here. I'm going to share the screen. Are you all able to see this?
Yes.
Okay, that's her right there. And this is the story. The story is here. She's 17 years old, and she was basically suffering from malaria, and she also had peptic ulcers. It left her bedridden for 3 weeks, and she missed school for 3 weeks. And she was admitted to the hospital, given pharmaceuticals, and her health got worse. And her father is a guy named Yao Kobina. So I explain the story here. I'm not going to read everything, but she came and got this for her. And this is the bottle here, the olive leaf extract that we make at Herbal Results. And when she took this, within 24 hours, she was up and walking. And the day after that, she was strong enough to go to school that she had missed for close to a month and was able to cook food for herself and all of that. So olive leaf extract does a very good job in killing mosquito-borne illnesses, malaria, yellow fever, dengue, chikungunya. See, this is written right here. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I need to make it bigger, but this was posted in 2020. Okay. I'll make this a little bit bigger so that the audience can see it. But what I posted was exactly what you were talking about and asking about. You asked about dengue and chikungunya. This is it mentioned all the way in 2020, right? It kills mosquito-borne illnesses, and I'll give you now the mechanism of action. I'll stop sharing the screen. So what it does to parasites is that, and these will be mosquito parasites, any types of parasites. It dissolves the exoskeleton of parasites. So these microbial parasites, when olive leaf extract comes in contact with it, it kills them by dissolving their exoskeleton so they no longer have a structure. They basically just fall apart. Now, doctors will say, well, we're not talking about the malaria parasite. We're talking about chikungunya, Zika, and dengue fever. Well, those are viruses. And the question becomes what type of viruses it is. So there are 3 types of viruses, but it turns out that all of the mosquito viruses are RNA viruses. Guess what else was an RNA virus? SARS-CoV-1 and SARS-CoV-2. They were RNA viruses. And guess what? They all multiply the same way. So this is how RNA viruses replicate. They invade the cell and they overtake an intracellular apparatus called an RNA polymerase. The RNA polymerase is inside the cell and is the Xerox machine that copies the virus. Well, if left unchecked, usually the immune system will try to check it and kill the virus. So when the virus replicates to what they call a viral load that's higher than what your immune system can ward off, you have what then is called immune escape. And then that's when you start to get sick. When your immune system can no longer ward off the virus and the virus overtakes it, it's called immune escape. Well, most people's immune systems are completely compromised, particularly in places like America, where you have bad food, bad nutrition. You just don't have the things that your immune system needs to be able to fight off diseases. So you get sick quickly. Now, it turns out that there's something that stops the Xerox machine in its tracks from copying the virus, and it's called zinc. As a matter of fact, with RNA viruses, your body will draw up all the zinc that it can, because your body's trying to save you. Your body will draw up all the zinc that it can to stop the replication of the virus. It's your body trying to fight for you in the background. The problem is a lot of people are zinc deficient because the topsoil is no longer as rich. This is going back to Tenisio's wheelhouse. The topsoil is no longer as rich as it used to be through factory farming and industrial farming. Most of the nutrients from these soils are gone. People doing monocropping and all those types of things. So now these nutrients that you get from the soil that then get imbued into the plants are no longer there. So you'll be eating, you can be plant-based, but you could still be deficient in the main minerals that the human body needs, particularly for the immune system. And those minerals are zinc, magnesium, selenium, and you would also need vitamin D, which you get from the sun, and people aren't out in the sun as much as they need to be. And the immune system's main nutrient is vitamin D. Okay. So when now you have people who are not getting vitamin D and not getting nutrients from the soil, you have this cascading effect where people are just susceptible to any type of opportunistic infections because their immune system can't do the job that it used to do. Now, what does this mean for dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika? It means that once you get bitten by the mosquito and you get that RNA virus inside of you, it then hijacks the cell, gets into the RNA polymerase for the RNA polymerase to copy it. Your job is to stop the copying. So what happens is the body is drawing all the zinc reserves that you may have. And when the zinc reserves run out, the copying is unabated. But guess what the main symptom of zinc deficiency is when your body has no zinc? The main symptom of zinc deficiency is loss of taste and smell. That's why when you got COVID, they told you if you have a fever and you lose your taste and smell, you probably have COVID. It's not a regular fever. It's not a regular cold. But they never explained the mechanism of action. It's because your body's trying to save you by taking all the zinc reserves that you have because you're most likely low in zinc in the first place. So when that zinc is gone, you lose taste and smell. So this will also happen with people with chikungunya. This will happen with people with Zika. And this will happen with people with dengue fever. They will most likely start to, along with the fever, they will lose taste and smell. And that loss of taste and smell is the body taking up all the zinc reserves. So the first thing you do is that you would want to supplement with zinc. But there's a problem in supplementing with zinc. The problem is that zinc has 2 positive ionic charges. And these 2 positive ionic charges creates a polarity with the cell membrane. So now you have something like 2 positive magnets. What happens, they kind of repel each other, right? So you need something that helps zinc get into the cell because zinc can't readily get into the cell. The thing that you need in medical nomenclature or scientific nomenclature is called a zinc ionophore. It just simply means it's a zinc door opener. It opens a door to the cell to allow zinc to rush in. So in other words, you get a higher concentration of zinc rushing into the cell if you couple it with a zinc ionophore. If you don't couple it with a zinc ionophore, you'll get very little zinc into the cell. Can you visualize what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. What are zinc ionophores? Well, according to U.S. National Institute of Health, one of the main zinc ionophores that they studied with SARS-CoV-2 was chloroquine. Chloroquine is a pharmaceutical derivative that they got from the quinine tree, which then chloroquine, because when people started taking chloroquine for malaria, the malaria parasites started developing a resistance to it, so then they created hydroxychloroquine. So hydroxychloroquine has less side effects than chloroquine and is more effective. And hydroxychloroquine we get in Africa. I'm sure they even have it in Cuba over the counter. In South America, you can get hydroxychloroquine over the counter without a doctor's prescription. It's safer than aspirin. So it's an antiparasitic, which, by the way, is the main medicine used for lupus and other autoimmune illnesses. And so the question is, are autoimmune illnesses connected to parasites? Why are you using an antiparasitic for an autoimmune illness? Well, it's because it is connected to parasites. But I digress. It turns out that most of these antiparasitics are also zinc ionophores. They open the cell membrane door to allow zinc to rush in. So guess what a natural zinc ionophore is? Olive leaf extract, Artemisia nua, quercetin, black seed oil, curcumin, turmeric. And another thing that you can use, which will be natural to the environment in Cuba, what's Cuba's papaya game? They got a lot of papayas in Cuba?
Yeah.
All right. So we just solved the problem. They're going to take papaya leaves and boil the leaves and drink it as tea and take zinc if they can along with it. Papaya leaves has a medicine inside of it that is a zinc ionophore, but it also kills dengue fever, chikungunya, and mosquito-borne illnesses. So you're going to take papaya leaves, and there's two ways you can prepare them. The weaker preparation will be with boiling water, just boiling water with the leaves. Now, if you want to make it more powerful, you will take the dry leaves and grind them into powder. So now you squeeze the surface area of the leaves, and you can fit more of the plant material into the square area. It's just like the difference between having fresh leaves in a box or having the powder leaf in a box, right? The powder is going to give you more weight.
So how do you take the powder the same way?
Yeah, you make the powder, and you can make it as a powder, or at least grind it, and then you'll boil it in the water, and you drink it, and take that along with zinc, and it will do the job with chikungunya, Zika, and any of these, and dengue fever, papaya leaves. So that's natural to the environment. If you don't have that, most people don't have olive trees growing in Cuba. They don't have.
But you said the curcumin works too?
Yeah, you could use curcumin that's also a zinc ionophore. But you always want to mix it with black pepper.
Okay.
Right? Because it makes it more bioavailable. There's an ingredient in black pepper called piperine that allows curcumin to become more bioavailable, sometimes like 100 times more absorbable.
Okay.
You always want to mix those two together. And with curcumin, you don't boil it with water because it's not water soluble. You will add coconut oil and you'll heat it up. It's fat soluble. So if you want to make a mix of that to drink, you would use coconut oil or coconut milk. I know they got a lot of coconuts in Cuba.
We do got a lot of coconuts, but unfortunately, we don't have the culture of making the milk. I when I was back in Cuba, I would make my milk all the time, right? Off the coconuts, man. But not everybody does that.
Yeah, they could do. That's a good way to get the curcumin. But I would hazard a guess, just living in the Caribbean, probably the easiest thing would be to get the papaya leaves.
Yeah, the papaya leaves make sense.
Yeah, man.
Now, the one question I have is, because now I gotta find ways to get some zinc out there.
Yeah. So if they don't have the zinc, we're gonna hope that they have it from their diet.
So what would be the sources? Good sources of from
there's
food?
zinc in meat, and then most plants will have zinc in it through the soil. So if they have a whole food diet, in other words, they don't eat a lot of processed foods. It's the wealthy people who would eat the processed foods. The average person is eating food from the earth.
Yeah.
That's what they call poor people food, which is the healthiest food, right?
Right.
So they probably have pretty good zinc reserves. They're probably not as deficient as zinc as they are in the United States. But the most important thing to do would be able to get the papaya leaves, start taking that, and then whatever zinc is in the body will be used up. It'll be used up a lot more efficiently with the papaya leaves. And just boil that. Now, if you want the papaya leaves to be stronger as a medicine, you're going to get vodka. You get vodka and you soak the leaves or the powder into the vodka and you leave it there for at least 24 hours or even a week. If you leave it a week, it's going to be real strong. And what you're going to do is you're going to get a woman's pantyhose or a cheesecloth, and you're going to get a bowl, and you're going to pour the mixture of the vodka and the leaves and use the pantyhose as a buffer to sift. And everything that goes through, then you will squeeze everything in the pantyhose that comes out from the leaves. And what you've just now done is you've become a chemist because you've extracted the medicine, the strongest, from the papaya leaves. That will be much stronger than boiling it in water. It'll be more medicinal, it'll be more effective. And that is what is called a tincture. You've just made a tincture with vodka.
Now, Fernando, the brother said pantyhose, not panty. I just want you to know.
I know.
Fernando walk around with some panties in his pocket. His wife asking him like, "What's going on?"
I knew he was going to say something, man.
I'm making a
tincture.
tincture.
Have something to say, man.
I'm just trying to help you out, brother. We don't want no problems. You be like, how do I get a Band-Aid?
When I send the instructions back home, make sure I do it right, huh?
You might want to do that, brother. we know your family, brother. But yeah, no, definitely. We want to thank our brothers for coming on today. We're running out of time, but this is part of the reason why we're requesting that show. I'm not going to say it no more.
Yes.
Let's I repeat it like another good doctor we know. We're requesting the show. Requesting the show, brother. Requesting
the show.
Yes, that's right.
The show is being requested.
Along with your soul buddies.
That's right. So you try to get somebody in trouble. We will see you all tonight at Eradicate Conference. Get your tickets, eradicateconference.com. You have no excuse. We don't want to hear no, I'm in France, Fernando. We got the virtual joint going. Let Bona know. We got the virtual joint going.
I thought we had the BPM jet coming through.
Oh nah, man, we out of fuel. We had to get some papaya leaves, so we're gonna go ahead and trade that in for the jet. So
hey, man.
but we gonna stream. We'll excuse me. You can check out the stream at eradicateconference.com, or you can check it out virtually. Also, if you can't make the stream or the event itself, make sure you go to herbalresults.net, where you can check out some of the products that our good brother Heru was talking about today.
Yeah,
definitely appreciate you all. And see, Fernando thought he was going to be able to shake you up, Heru. He's like, man, yeah, I bet you don't know what to do with this. And Heru like, aha, I do have a solution for that.
Nah, man. But on the real, give thanks for real, man. I'm about to get to my family right now, let them know about this. This is great information. I appreciate it for real.
And if I may, this is what's going to happen in real time at the conference. So if anyone was still wondering what happens, this is what happens. You know, Heru will literally show you the receipts. He'll show you the procedure, right? And then when you ask those questions in the crowd, he gonna do exactly what just happened between himself and you, brother Fernando. So I encourage everyone to look at what you just saw as a microcosm of what's going to happen throughout the entire weekend. And if I may, I'm a shameless plug for you, Heru. You know, you also need to make sure you're hip to the brother's book, right? He has an ebook, and a lot of what he just did, you can actually do yourself just by capturing the book. Because again, the goal is to be able to replicate the knowledge. And on his website, herbalresults.net, you'll actually see that he has an entire protocol on there with the products that you would need, not only from Herbal Results, but the other items that may be available, you know, if you can't get to him, or at least if you can't get the examples of what he's proposing, like how we just discovered. There may be certain things in Cuba that, you know, could work as an alternative. Make sure you definitely check out the book as well. That's a very key part of everyone's library that I encourage them to have.
No doubt.
Yeah, man. And also in closing, just in terms of receipts, in case you have some medical professionals in your family, or your family knows people, they just want to see more information on it. There's this study here on the U.S. National Institute of Health's website, and this is it right here. And then they can just go down the rabbit hole. So do you see this right here?
Let's see.
Can you put it on the screen, Kalonji? Yep.
Here we go.
Do you see it? You see National Library of Medicine, NIH, National Institute of Health. Okay, so this is the title of the study. In vitro antiviral activity of carica papaya formulations against dengue fever, type 2, and chikungunya virus, okay?
Man.
This is it right there.
Appreciate that.
So, you know, if anyone is questioning what I'm saying, you refer them to this particular study that you could simply just use papaya leaves, and then I've shown you how you can actually make them stronger by using vodka as opposed to just boiling it as tea with water. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely want to thank you, brothers, for coming on, and we certainly need a part 2.
We do.
Vital information, and for folks who care about your people, I mean, we all at this point, just like we know someone locked up, we know someone with cancer or some other type of disease that's going on that is 9 out of 10 curable. You know, 9 out of 10 times is curable, but unfortunately, we have such faith in the very people who are looking to destroy us. I mean, I've never understood that concept. But definitely make sure that you tune in check out eradicateconference.com tonight and tomorrow. And also, again, go to herbalresults.net. We are co-signing for this, not because we have not just because we're adding this 2 cents or we have a nickel in this dime. We're saying that whenever we see that, that there is something that can assist you in better health and wellness or anything, that can help you to advance through this capitalist system and to be able to navigate through these shark-filled waters, we recommend it and we co-sign as much as possible. So definitely make sure that you check out what these brothers have to offer. Also, if you can't do anything else, hit the like button, share, subscribe, but certainly share this video, because there are some people that are watching this and they might not see it today, they might not see it tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But make sure that you put it out there, because of the fact that that's why we're doing what we're doing. We want to make sure that we archive and we aid in people's survival. And as Kwame Ture, formerly Stokely Carmichael, would say, we are going to survive America. So with that being said, we say continue to rise up. This is the International Morning Show, Rise Up International Morning Show, right here on Black Power Media. Till next time, we'll see you. Rise up.
Yes, indeed.
Heru.
On.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one, or the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces when it's on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. What we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my inner me really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky. Like chariots are swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Where we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.